Mike Tyson was once one of the most iconic sports people on the face of the planet, terrorizing his fellow heavyweight boxers in the late 80s and early 90s. However, his star was considerably tarnished after going to jail for rape back in February 1992, as he was handed a 6-year sentence. Today, we're discussing why he had an extra year added to his sentence. In his own words, stay tuned. Let's dive right into it then. What has Tyson been saying? Speaking on his popular Hotboxin podcast recently, Iron Mike Tyson has opened up about one of the darkest periods of his life. He was sent down for rape in the early 90s, but only served half of the 6-year sentence. However, Mike has always proclaimed his innocence in the rape of Desiree Washington, who was also Miss Black Rhode Island. His protestations didn't help, however, and he was sent off to serve his time in Plainfield Correctional, where one particular incident ended with him having a year tagged onto his initial sentence. Tyson revealed, "I got an extra year. When I first came there, I was mad at everybody. I didn't know they all wanted to show me love. So I'm fighting the guards and stuff, but then the guards were telling me how to move. So now I'm the man. I am getting food, got women. I am the man in prison." Of course, this will possibly shock those who believe Tyson should have been forced to do his time like everyone else. But sycophants exist in all walks of life, am I right? However, Tyson went on to reveal that his behavior at the beginning of his sentence actually ended up contributing to another year being added onto his sentence. It must have been quite the shock for someone like Tyson, who had to adjust from a lifestyle of having everything to having nothing in the blink of an eye. What else did the former champ have to say? Stay tuned to find out. Well, Tyson, who first won the heavyweight title as a 20-year-old after knocking out Trevor Berbick in 1986, went into further detail about what happened during his stint in prison, saying at one point during his sentence, "The guard that was working with me goes like, 'Listen, champ, remember when you first came here? You had those problems. We had to give you a year.' I said, 'Oh, expletive. How could they do this?' Expletive. I gave them my money and they gave me another year." He went on to reveal how he was forced to take programs that he had no chance of passing, spelling and stuff, which was probably down to his attitude at the time. When Tyson was released from jail in 1995, he promptly returned to the ring. It would take him just 3 fights to dethrone Frank Bruno to win the WBC heavyweight title, going on to add the WBA title against Bruce Seldon just 6 months later. However, Tyson would fall back into his previous life of excess and debauchery, which would negatively impact his career in the ring. He lost his 5th fight after being released from prison against Evander Holyfield, which was the beginning of the end for one of the scariest heavyweight boxers in the history of the sport. The rematch against Holyfield would provide one of the most infamous incidents ever witnessed in the ring. You know the one. What did you make of Tyson's words? A former Tyson opponent has given his thoughts on who was the hardest hitter he faced next. Stay with us. James Tillis took on Mike Tyson in the early days of his career, when Iron Mike was young and hungry. A 19-year-old Tyson beat Tillis in a unanimous decision victory to go 20-0, the first time he had ever been taken the distance. Tillis, who was once trained by Lee's fabled trainer, Angelo Dundee, fought some pretty heavy hitters during his time in the ring, including one Ernie Shavers, noted for his incredibly hard punching. Shavers and Tyson are often spoken of when the conversation turns to the hardest punchers boxing has ever seen. So who better to judge than a man who has been in there with both? Tillis was asked this exact question a while ago and had quite an interesting take on the topic, saying, "People ask me about Tyson and Shavers. Let me tell you, there's no comparison as far as superior punching power, none whatsoever. Shavers, he hits so hard he could turn horse piss into gasoline." Wow, that is quite the admission. Tillis, who finished his career with a record 42-22-1, went on to say, "He hit so hard he could bring back tomorrow. Tyson hit like a sissy in comparison. I beat Shavers, and I know I beat Tyson. I wanted a rematch with Tyson real bad, but Shavers, no way. He must be the only man on the planet who ever wanted to actually fight Mike Tyson." What do you make of Tillis's words? Next up, a rare piece of boxing memorabilia is up for auction. If you are so inclined and have the exorbitant amount of money you're going to need, you could have a chance of owning Evander Holyfield's gloves from that fight with Mike Tyson. In case you're not up on your boxing history, the fight we refer to is the infamous ear bite bout from back in June 1997. Tyson was disqualified for biting his opponent in the third round, with Evander Holyfield retaining his WBA heavyweight title in the process. And now, Evander has decided to auction off the gloves he wore during the fight, which could net him as much as $100,000. The Everlast gloves worn during the Vegas bout still have Holyfield number 1 written on them in black marker, which fans will love. The superb bit of boxing memorabilia will go on auction at Leland's Auction House out of New Jersey, who have described the gloves as being lightly used, which of course makes sense considering what transpired during the fight. Of course, the fight was the rematch of the November 1996 fight between the pair, which Evander won via 7th round knockout. But the pair will forever be remembered for their second bout. Tyson later tried to justify his actions during the fight by saying he was angry that Holyfield was continually headbutting him. Seems like a reasonable response, Mike. Will you guys be bidding on the gloves? Let us know below. Tyson has been speaking about his health concerns next. Stay with us. Mike Tyson worried fans recently as he appeared in a Florida airport in a wheelchair. He had earlier been seen using a walking stick in New York, but the former baddest man on the planet has now opened up on what was going on. Appearing though he had just finished a set of tennis at Flushing Meadows, Tyson was seen in full whites whilst being pushed through Miami airport. But he has recently revealed that all is well, saying, "I have sciatica every now and then. It flares up. When it flares up, I can't even talk. Thank God it's the only health problem I have. I'm splendid now. Everybody in my house is truly blessed, and we're all very grateful for whatever we have." Of course, anyone who has ever had sciatica will know exactly what Tyson means, as it can be one of the most debilitating, non-serious injuries out there. Mike had concerned listeners to his podcast earlier by claiming that his expiration date is coming close. So when he was pictured in a wheelchair, people clearly thought the worst. Thankfully, he's okay, however. What do you guys make of Tyson's revelation? Give us your thoughts below. And finally, Tyson has trolled Holyfield via the medium of weed. Stay with us. By now, you're probably well aware of the fact that Tyson is pretty big in the world of weed and has his own line of products. And now, he has debuted his latest product, Bitten Ear-Shaped Edibles. The weed-infused treat is inspired by his and boxing's most controversial moment ever, and will go on sale imminently. As Chief Branding Officer and owner of Tyson 2.0, Mike is responsible for announcing new products, and was in New Jersey this past weekend to promote his new line. When asked about the new line of products, Tyson explained, "They fined me $3 million for biting his ear. Eventually, I was able to make that back from people wanting photos with me biting their ears." Mike then went on to say how immediately after the incident, he was vilified, but slowly, he started to get more and more positive attention as the negativity died down, explaining the new venture as a way to flip it to the positive side. Tyson got into the weed game after seeing the immense profits on offer, describing the sector as hard work, but it's a sexy business. You are going to lose big in the beginning. As long as you don't get discouraged, you can be successful. What do you guys make of Mike's weed business? As usual, thanks for dropping in on us today, and remember to tune in again next time for some more fun reveals. And why not do us a big favor by liking and sharing today's video, while also subscribing to our channel so not to miss out on more great bits in the future. Bye guys!